Hello, my name is Jan Stafford Kellis, and I'm just going to talk to you today about writing at the speed of thought. One thing I was really surprised to learn when I started writing books is that the speed of the writing changes depending on where you are in the project. And I like to think of it like kind of like a road trip. There's all different stages of a road trip, from the planning stage to coming home and remembering the trip, and the same holds true for a book. There's the planning stages of the book, the writing of the book, and then the remembering or the actual evidence of having a book that you can share with people. So if you do continue with the road trip analogy, first you plan your trip. So you're going to get out the map and you're going to figure out where you're going to go and how you're going to get there. When you're writing a book, this would be your outline stage. So you might know the vague kind of idea of a story that you want to write about. And this is the outline stage when you would figure out how you're going to tell that story, how many characters you will have in there, how many chapters, maybe even the length of the chapters, and a skeleton, make yourself a skeleton of the story, and what will happen in each chapter and how it will move the story forward. This is where the story grid by Shawn Coyne, C-O-Y-N-E, would come into play here. Very, very good strategy that he's come up with as far as figuring out your story and what happens in each chapter and who the players are and how they interact and all the little character arcs and story arc and everything else. I highly recommend his method for you. You can find him on the internet. The second step would be you're driving, okay? So maybe you're on the interstate. You're driving fast. You're getting far away from where you started. This would be your first draft stage of writing. So the first draft is pretty much all-consuming. You don't see what's going by out your window. You are focused on the page and the writing. You're living in your Scrivener software, if you're using the tips that I provided earlier. And every morning you're waking up, you're opening up your laptop, you're getting into Scrivener, and you're just writing. Unless you are chained to a day job, as I am, and then you have to figure out when you can fit it in. But when you're in the first draft stage, the writing is fast and furious. You're on the interstate. You're going 75 miles an hour. There aren't any police, though. You will not get pulled over for writing too fast. That's the good news there. The third stage, if you're still continuing with the road trip analogy, the third stage might be the first place that you stop and explore the region. So you're staying, maybe you're staying in a hotel for a few days and you're just going to check things all out. In the book writing part of this would be the revision. It's a slower pace. You're reading, you're revising, you're considering every paragraph. Do I need this paragraph? Or even entire chapter? Do I need this whole chapter? Can I combine chapters? What can I do here to keep the pace moving for the reader? And still drive the story forward without providing too much background information or not enough background information or whatever. This is just the revision. You're pretty much living in a different little town right now at your hotel room, revising your story. The fourth stage is you're driving home. The exploration part of your trip is over. You're tired, you're hungry, you might be cranky, you're thinking about going back to work next week. This part sucks. You're driving back home. Vacation's over. In the book writing, this would be the editing part. So you're going to need to clear your calendar for 5 or 6 or 8 hours and do a full read through. You have to try to read your entire manuscript in one sitting because it's the only way that you can make sure you'll notice things like things out of sequence, like you you don't introduce Susie to the story until chapter 3, but you mentioned her in chapter 2, but whoever mentioned her shouldn't have known her yet, so you can't have that in there. Things like that that just don't flow properly or correctly. Also, it's a good time to watch for your timing. And I'm talking about timing in the truest, most basic sense, calendar and clock time in your story, because sometimes when you're writing so fast and furiously going down the interstate, you don't realize, oh shoot, I had something happen on a Saturday when it was really only Thursday, and now I'm on Tuesday, but it should be Monday or whatever. So you really have to kind of watch that too. Not to plug the Story Grid again. I really should call that guy and see if I can get some affiliate marketing or something with him. But the Story Grid also addresses the time element of your story, so that will help you keep track on that level as well. Also, when you're doing this one single read through, you might catch an error to do with names. I know I struggled with the name of one of my main characters, or I guess I'd call him a main secondary character, in my latest book. I at first thought of him as Walter, and I thought his name is Walter, is going to be just Walter. His last name's probably Webster because he's like a genius, Walter Webster. And then I decided, no, he's a Malcolm. He's definitely a Malcolm. Well, then some of my notes about this person were written as Walter, and some of them were written as Malcolm. And as I was writing my first draft, sometimes I called him by the wrong name. But luckily I did catch it on my big major read-through. So that's another thing to watch for. And you'll catch all of these things without even really trying, because you're reading, you're paying attention, you're concentrating on it, and you will notice these things. This stage is also when you would have your editor go through it. So after you do your big, long, major read through and correct what you see there, then you are ready to package it up and send it to an editor. And by packaging it up, I don't even know why I said that, because we no longer mail things in the mail. But anyway, you find an editor and you send them a digital copy of your manuscript. So this is when you switch gears and you work on marketing. This is a great time to, if you're designing your own book cover, to do that. If you're hiring somebody on Fiverr or Elance or Odesk or something, you could write down your requirements for that, maybe give them a couple of photos for inspiration or idea of what you're envisioning, and get that off to them so they're working on that. If you're sticking with your road trip analogy here, this is when you might spend a day doing something out of the ordinary for you. Okay, so the marketing on your book isn't really writing, it's a little out of the ordinary. On your road trip, you're not traveling. This might be when you're staying somewhere. Hopefully it is on the way home, because that makes the trip home a lot more fun if you've got one more thing to do to look forward to. So if you're doing something out of the ordinary, maybe you're skydiving, maybe you're hot air ballooning, maybe you're zip lining. I don't know why all these things I'm thinking of are airborne activities, but they must be out of my comfort zone, so that's what's coming up for me right now. And I love the marketing part of writing. It just is a completely different mindset. So sometimes it is a little difficult to switch gears, but if you kind of schedule the time to do that, it makes it a lot easier. The fifth stage is you're remembering your trip. So you probably took a lot of photos on your trip, and you're sitting back now with your photo album and you're showing it to your friends and family, and you're saying, on Monday this is what we did, we went skydiving or whatever. So in the book writing part of this, you're sharing your book. You have a book that you wrote that you can share with everybody and hand it out and give it as gifts. Thank you for viewing my video today. I hope you enjoy all the videos that I have posted on YouTube, and I invite you to pop on over to my website. It's jankellis.com, and there you can learn more about me and more about all of the books I've written. And if it's after December 4th, 2015, you can even see a little more information about The Sunshine Room, which is my newest book that features Malcolm, who used to be Walter. Writing a book can be as easy as you make it. So please use my snap sequence method and get started today.